for Jim and David for engineering this event and helping us to engineer it. We're two neophytes on some of this stuff, and it really does take a village.
Yes.
So hang in with us. So our evening will look something like this. We've had a check-in with the group and talked a bit. I'm glad to do that. Hope you had fun. And I'm going to do a somewhat brief overview. I kept trying to shorten it. We're going to work into small groups, creating an artful response to the work that Zakari lays out here. And we want you to have your blank paper and your dark markers with you. And I see Judy's reaching for hers now, thank goodness.
I am.
Yeah.
Because I just remembered.
Yes. So we'll get them on the mural wall with the help of Doug and Larry. And then after that, Dawn is going to lead us in some reflections on what we create in our group, and some focuses on some implications for the future. So looking at your bullet points, I'm sort of going to walk through some of that, but I first wanted to just have you to look. Jim's going to put up a picture, I think, or it's on the, anyway, you all got a picture.
Yes.
Of the La Catrina. There she is, okay. And Zakari talked about that she is a symbol widely used in Mexican Day of the Dead celebrations and was recently popularized in the movie Coco, which if you haven't seen, you do want to see. And be sure to have your grandchildren see it. They talk about it as being a realistic look at death as part of life. And death is the great equalizer. The poor and the rich, all are going to die. And what I read about this is, his last name is Posado, I believe, yeah. Posado talked about it as the elaborate costume was meant to be a mockery of indigenous people trying to ignore their roots and their customs, and becoming more like the colonizers. And then he ends after a bit saying that, like death and taxes, inequality may always be with us. And I found that a bit hopeful, because I found his title, that inequality is going to get worse, rather grim. So I liked his, it may always be with us.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the reality we need to focus on to give us impetus in moving toward creating a new normal, because this chapter is certainly full of realism. I didn't bother to check any of the facts, but it certainly hit me as well documented. So in his intro, he talks about how we measure inequality, and it gives lots of different results. And the different methods give different results. There are many facts, ups and downs. Global equality decline, then it's up, and then it's, just something. But what caught my attention, although global inequality has recently declined, but the sharpest rise is in some of the developing countries. He mentioned China and the US, and other developing places since but the US has seen the sharpest rise in inequality since 1928. I found that a pretty grim factor. But Obama talked about it as the defining challenge of our time. And yet in the rest of the world, he was pointing out, there was progress. And most of the progress was in China and India and other developing countries who had shown some sustained economic growth, lifting hundreds of millions out of poverty. And Zakari had gone back to India and had seen the change in the larger houses and makeshift toilets and motorcycles and bicycles. But another really positive thing he points to in the intro is that child mortality dropped 59%. And I'm assuming that's worldwide, and the Millennium Development Goals had been met. The ones of reducing poverty had been met within 5 years. Then we move into section 1, and he talks about, in spite of all that progress, the COVID, the great unequalizer, could erase all of those gains, and we're moving into something else. And I'm going to speed through this because we've all seen on TV those staggering facts about how one country was less affected, maybe through climate or heat could have killed the virus, or stronger immune systems. But where it was worse had to do with crowded situations and sanitation. And then, of course, we know in our country, the crowded nursing homes. And anyway, he talks about, what about the shutdowns, and was it worth it? And points to the economic collapses that happened because of that, because of the shutdowns, and also places in countries that relied on tourism. Anyway, all of that leads to a huge debt crisis. And he's talking about who gets out of it. Well, some of us can and some of us can't. And I don't know those kind of facts, so I don't even pretend to talk about them. But another grim figure is, because of the debt crisis, and countries like us could borrow money, but the poor country, and we have a better rate, but the poor countries that can't, he talked about 70 to 430 millions could be pushed back into poverty. His little glimmer of hope there that I saw was, unless there's massive debt forgiveness. I don't know how that happens, but we'll let somebody else figure that out. He also pointed to the other glimmer of hope, of possibility for rise, is we've got to have radical support to health systems. There was such a different way in which people had hospitals, ventilators, and all of that. So in section 2, the bigger get bigger, he pointed to that one is that inequality is not just in nations, but it's in companies and corporations. And he pointed to that as a new reality. And I was referred back to thinking back on what Doug taught us a couple weeks ago in the digital divide that he was talking about. Think back, the big box, we've seen the big rise of box stores that we've all become familiar with during COVID, because we chose them, because they had the delivery options, or they had higher stock of merchandise, which size allows, they can jump in and grab those global trends and cross cultures and so forth. But he talked about bigger stores having more purchasing power because of the whole volume of it. And that threw me back to our days in Galax, when we took a venture into retail to try to make a little money. And we learned that the big Walmart down the street was selling the very same brand of underwear for the price that we paid for it to get it into our store. Anyway, that's happening particularly in small businesses. And another point of the big is we can do price comparisons easily online, and therefore we end up shopping in those stores rather than going back to our little local ones. Then you add to that the Federal Reserve and stock market benefits, and even the CARES Act, which was supposed to help the small business, went disproportionately to the better connected places. We saw that so clearly in our little town, where a Black barber shop, which has been a vital part of this community on Main Street for years, had no idea how to get a hold of that data before it was just snapped up like that. I keep talking too much. Let me hurry quickly. The two Americas, I'm going to hit on just a couple things. The wealth versus the income. Generational wealth handed down. We've got equity in homes. We've got equity in stocks. Compare that to the day-to-day survival, paycheck to paycheck salaries. And those gross facts about America, 10% owning 70% of the total wealth. And several, well, I don't have time now, but I'm sure they hit you as well as they hit me. He says it must be a better way. And he points to massive retraining like the GI Bill and expanding the earned income tax. Costly reforms, but he tells us that without them, we've got a possibility of revolution. Section 4, that was his shortest chapter, Money and Morality. And he points out that a democratic society, we want significant values of life to be more equal, but it's thwarted by the monetized world that we live in, where prices on goods and services, and how when you can buy political favors, it becomes a corrupting factor. He also spoke of places that handled the inequality was evident, places that handled the COVID virus well and others that didn't. And he referred us to Denmark, who had more social capital because there was trust there. He pointed to another hopeful glimmer that he gave us was that like Denmark, in places where there was greater trust, there was ways to work with shared purpose and for the common good. But he pointed to what the most glaring inequality was, the division in the sick and the well. And the other grim factor of, if we have another pandemic, and he says we likely will, that's one of the things we've got to work for. How can we all be healthy and safe? And his closing remark has to do with forcing us to relook at the ancient wisdom, declaring that inequality in a moral sense has to be all humans are equal. I have two quick closing quotes, and I just wanted that point to this. Thomas Berry, this came to me in a letter just this week from somewhere, and it's not a quote, but it refers to his wisdom. She said, all of the well-intentioned efforts to solve problems will be to no avail if they're not rooted in the sacred. And he calls for, it said it requires a cultivation of soul capacities for dealing with an I and a thou relationship. And then I would be remiss if I didn't refer to my husband's good work the other day on his Journey Reflection blog. And it's on the mural. We've got it on the mural wall, but I did this quick little, it's a quote from Gandhi. But it shows somebody climbing up a hill. Let me see if I can get it in there. And another hand reaching down to help. And the quote is, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in service to others. So I'm going to pull a curtain on that so we can stick to our timeline and get you to the small groups. And we're going to work in 4 groups tonight, remembering that Zahari spoke of the role of artist in paving the way towards social change. So we thought, Dawn and I thought this would be a good time to do something different in our groups and let you all be the artist to respond. So we'll be in 4 groups corresponding to these 4 sections we've talked through quickly. And you've got your bullet points and the prompt questions just to trigger your thinking. In the groups, we want you to recall the key points that you remember, create art, and then share it and put it up on a wall on the mural. So let's see now, teams, if you're in teams 1, 2, 1, 3, and 4, you'll do a visual art. They can all be written down like this on a paper. But team 2, group 2, the one about big gets bigger, we've asked them especially to create a verbal art. You can still put an art form on it, but so it could be our closing ritual when we go, when we close out tonight.
Linda,
Yes,
which group leader is doing the ritual?
Nancy's group. So anyway, Nancy, AM is 1, Noel, AM Noel is 1, Nancy Trask is 2, Pat is 3, and Carlton is 4. So, thinking of ourselves as community builders and imaginal educators, we want you to have fun with this and come up with some creative work that we can all take with us into whatever we decide to do with this at another time. So take us away.
Certainly reduce, in the case of another pandemic, the same response that we had in this one, if we could radically improve the healthcare systems globally. We can't even do it in the US, but I mean, globally would be necessary for another global pandemic.
Who else? Ellen?
Divider and creates issues, just huge issues for people who can't figure out how to get their vaccination. They can't get in line. They don't understand how to do, you know,
Yeah.
that because they don't have access.
Yeah,
Well,
and
one
you
of the-
know, I retired 4 years ago from a career in libraries, and the most recent 12 years was in public library in a small town. And we really considered ourselves an essential service to people to have internet access. And it just makes me cry to look at, you know, people who don't believe in funding the public libraries.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'll
one of
step
the-
off my pedestal.
one of the underlying issues that came out in this chapter, Nancy, was
I'm going around and visiting rooms, David. You're on mute. You're still on mute. Now you're off mute.
But how do I get into a group?
I think if you click the breakout rooms icon, it shows you the rooms, and by the title of each one, it says join, and that's how you click that and you join.
And
that.
it doesn't say that. It did last week, but
All right, then maybe that's because you're the host and not the co-host. Hi, Dawn.
Hi, I'd like to go to room 4.
All right.
Thank you.
Hey, don't get intimidated. I've got it.
Okay, so just take 3 minutes and do a really quick sketch, because before we actually present this to the entire group, where somebody's going to redraw it. I don't know who that might be. So 3 minutes.
Of what, summarizing the chapter?
Just draw whatever comes to mind out of the chapter. Yeah.
And even though we might want humans to be equal, we've got this jagged line in which we live with some who have and some who don't.
That is neat. Thank you so much. And somebody else had one, but Janet, you've got one there.
Yeah, mine just took his last line. And again, variety of people, colors, but not the standard ones.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi, nobody's in 3. I'll go there.
Off you go.
Thank you very much.
Well.
All right. Did you have fun?
Lots of fun. Some good drawings. Good drawings in our group.
All right. Well, raise your hand if you wear more than 3 hats now. you've been artists for a brief amount of time. That'd be one hat. If you have at least 3 hats or more that you wear as a being, a human being, raise your hand.
Boy, I must have at least 3.
Yeah, we got some artists in there. And I was thinking while I was working on the pencil chart of the whole section, which you got in your homework, I was reminded when I was creating that chart that I became a draftsman, and I had to appropriate the tools of being a draftsman on a learning curve that was immediate. So, and as I was working on the chart and using things like pens, pencils, tape measures, rulers, erasers, which were very important, I thought of my dad, whom I called Albert Daddy. He only lived till I was about 6 years old. But after World War II, he came back and went to DeVry Technical School and became a draftsman for a short period of time. And I was reminded of a family story that my mom used to talk about when we would gather around the kitchen table. And she would talk about him after he was gone. And she said that she loved him, of course. And she could wear his pants, was how she always ended the story. And my mom was all of 5 feet, little bitty thing. She passed away a few years ago, but I became a draftsman yesterday. And that's one of my hats, is to appropriate that in creating things like charts that require you to use that eraser, honey, and get those lines straight. So how many of you count yourselves as artists creating change this evening? Raise your hand. All right. Well, we want to go to the mural wall. Is Larry here?
Larry Philbrook?
Larry Philbrook, yes.
He was writing in
I am here, but I'm muted. Yes, I'm here.
Can you get us to the mural wall?
I certainly can get you to the mural wall.
And
but I just expanded the size of my mural wall beyond location. There we go.
all right, and
I'll shrink it.
at this point, you should have chosen one product from each group to contribute to the mural wall and give it to Larry. And how do we do that, Larry? Do we have to take pictures of the products?
You can email me your picture if you wish. You can, if you know how to use the mural board, you can put it up there yourself. I will share my screen so you can see the screen. Since I don't know what all was here before, I'm not certain what all has been added. But
can we have a blank space, Larry?
Oh, we always have blank space.
Okay, can we have a blank space with one contribution from each team?
We might be able to do. Does anybody know which contributions have already been added?
Group three.
Okay, so this picture here where can you see my hand icon?
Yeah.
Move around. All right. So that's team 4. Team 3 is where?
Over on the right, outside of the wall area.
Okay.
Right there. I just moved it.
Oh, I see.
All right.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Right. So it's okay. So let's just move. I'll move team 4's over to that space. That's team 3, you say?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Then team 2, do you have a picture?
We don't have a picture. We've typed our
Oh, that's
ritual
right. You
into the
have a
chat.
ritual. I will come back to your ritual in just a
They had the
second.
hard part.
We typed it into the chat.
Team one, do you have a graphic?
Ellen Howie had a graphic that I think we could use.
Okay, Ellen, are
Ellen,
you here?
Can you share your graphic? I'm Joyce talking.
Is that it? Down at the bottom?
No, I can't get on the mural wall. If you go back to,
Okay,
I
Ellen,
just
can
hold
you?
it up in front of the camera.
Yeah, Ellen, if you just hold it in front of the camera and say something.
There you
Okay,
go.
it's called Debt Forgiveness Leads to Health.
Okay, keep talking.
All right, well, it's a mandala with a $ in the middle of it with the wedge blade going through it to signify debt forgiveness, and then two people hand in hand helping one another.
I got it. I have a picture. I will put it on the screen, but it'll take me a minute. We're taxing my computer's energy level.
Well, it's morning
Hey,
there. so you're not awake yet.
Team one had one other graphic, and I can't remember whose it was. Can you remember, Dawn?
No, but we're just supposed to choose one,
Okay,
Joyce.
that's good.
So we're good. Is that everyone? Every one of the teams? Great, great. Larry, show us what we have where we can look at all the selections at once.
Okay, give me 10 seconds and I will have the other picture on the mural board. We could have team 2 talk about their picture. I will make it bigger.
Well, we'll talk about it after we can look at all of them.
Okay, then here we go. My screen is updating, so you have to give it a minute.
Oh, okay. How y'all feeling?
I'm glad for a moment to pause.
Pardon?
I said, I'm glad for a moment to pause.
I brought some of chapter 5 along with me.
Everybody take yourselves off of mute. How do we say that, Jane?
This reminds me of our song story, Symbol Days.
Yes.
Take yourselves off of mute.
It's
Do I need
It's always enjoyable to have a Charlie horse of the brain.
Okay, Judy and Martin, and AM, you are on mute. Take yourselves off. How do we do that?
Who said Charlie Horse of the Brain?
Louis Pierce in Hawaii.
That was a good one.
All right, we're all together now. We're waiting on our mural scape.
Sorry, my computer's verifying that the picture is legitimate.
Oh my gosh, he's
What do
in
you put
Taiwan,
there, Larry?
You gotta
I
forgive
thought
him.
Taiwan was,
I have a super cautious computer.
Larry, do you want me to share my screen?
Yes, please.
Must be a Taiwanese computer.
Needs face
It is.
recognition.
It
Yeah,
is. It's called Apple.
And get it as big as we can on the
Okay.
green.
Keep
Is that
going.
where everybody's stuff is on the green?
Keep
No,
going.
not on the green. It's on the white.
Oh, everything is on.
Move it
Okay.
over. Move it over.
All
But
right.
Jim, how did you get Ellen's picture? I thought Larry took it.
Where's Ellen's
I
picture?
put it there. Yeah, Ellen's
There it
picture is
is.
not there. Just tell him.
Okay,
It's there
can we make
now.
it bigger?
It's coming.
Oh, I see it.
Ah,
There it is. Okay.
See if we can get all four as large as we can together on one screen.
3.
What you want to say?
three.
Where's
Uh,
the third one?
The
Where's
yellow ones could be made much smaller, then we'd be able to see them and it'd give us some space.
All right, let's try that.
Make this whole screen.
Can we get it all in there?
Yes, it will expand infinitely. It's just a question of doing it.
Or can we reduce the dollar sign? How do we get the dollar sign in there? We need to reduce the size.
Okay, I'm a little bit disenabled because I don't know how to know what you're seeing.
Oh,
You may
Okay.
have to move your picture grid around to be able to see it. You know, if you've got everybody's pictures over on the right-hand side, then that's going to cover something up.
I've got them right in the middle of my screen.
Yep.
all right.
There you go.
So just make those 3 pictures as big as you can, Jim.
Well, we can see them.
That looks
Yeah, that's
good.
okay. That's okay.
We can see
Yeah,
them.
they're fine.
Okay.
All right.
We didn't get Ellen's statement about.
Yes, it's there.
Well, we can.
We'll let her say it.
Oh, I see.
Okay,
Debt
now
forgiveness leads to health.
we're going to move into a little bit of squinty-eyed viewing of the 4 contributions. Take your head back and squint your eyes a bit and see what jumps out at you. What just jumps out at you?
Dollar sign.
Call them out. Call them out.
1%, 50%.
All right. What else do you see? Squint, squint.
2 Americas.
All right. What else do
Somebody
you
on
see?
a table.
Uh-huh.
A graph.
Mhm.
Keith.
All right. Now take a look, unsquint, and take a look at what you see now and what words jump out at you.
Separate and unequal.
Any other words that have a kernel of wisdom in them?
Moral equality.
Reestablishing trust.
I just like Karen Bueno's grin behind the dollar sign.
All right.
Yeah.
And
New
also
Americas.
Carlton trying to see through his bifocals.
That's right.
Well, I want to move right along and ask you to take a clean sheet of paper from your stack and create your own personal symbol.
It's over. It's over. No, I'll call you soon. Bye.
Take a
Dawn,
clean
should
sheet
I
of
stop
paper.
screen sharing now?
Have a symbol.
We can keep it up there.
All right.
Take a clean sheet of paper and create your own personal symbol of commitment in the struggle to foster equity in your sphere of influence. A personal symbol that holds for you your commitment to the struggle to create equity in your sphere of influence, your family, your job, your community. And take maybe 2 or 3 minutes at the most to do that. And use your markers. How's it going?
Yep. I don't know.
Take another minute or two and pull it together. Uno momento. Are we done? All right, let's have a few of you just say your name and show your symbol in front of your face and camera. We need to have everybody back on the grid now. Yeah, hold it up in front of your face and your camera. Wonderful, wonderful.
Hold it for a second.
Pardon me? Did you say something?
Hold your pictures for a second. Oops.
What happened?
Kara is screen sharing.
David, where's yours? Is that a polar bear on an ice floe?
It is hard to see what I have done.
Oh, that's
All right,
great
all
drawing.
right. Okay, we're gonna do something else now. Take another sheet of paper. Do you all have another sheet of paper?
Yeah.
All right. Now this time you're going to write a statement on what is the burning issue before us now. And take about 3 minutes to do that. The burning issue before all of us now, as you see it.
And community life.
Just one statement.
Scoot over.
How's it coming?
Hmm.
It's coming, huh? If you have something ready to read, hold up your hand. Okay. All right. That's great. Can't read yours, Doug. Welfare and distribution. Got it. Got it.
To hold it up?
Yeah, in front of your camera and your face. Okay, let's have maybe 3 people read what they have and share with the whole group. Just 3 people, just call it right out.
Ecological integrity experienced by all.
Say it again.
Ecological integrity experienced by all.
Okay, let's have another one.
Recognize our common life. This is one world.
All right.
How can I be who I am to be if you cannot be who you are to be?
Okay. One more.
An organic rebalancing of wealth and community life.
All right. Uno más.
Perseverance toward a shared sense of purpose.
Okay. You can take those home with you. Put them on the refrigerator. But anyway, let's take a moment now to reflect on our past Monday night's journey together. And I want you to voice a moral imperative or empathetic action coming out of our work for you or our entire group to put into practice. Did that come out okay? Take a moment or two to reflect on Monday night's journey together, and just, you can write it down or say it from your memory banks. Who can voice a moral imperative or empathetic action coming out of our work?
That's right.
Anybody got a sentence ready? That we can practice as a group or an individual.
I have a phrase, coming together in renewed trust and partnering rich nations with developing nations.
Say it again.
Coming together in renewed trust, creating partnerships, of rich nations working with developing nations.
Okay, how do we put it into practice?
I wrote down recognition.
Hold on, Elsa. Joyce, how do we put it into practice?
Well, I have some ideas about it, but that's another story.
Just one.
Have global partnerships meetings annually, and each developed nation partner with a specific developing nation and work on healthcare and education for starters. And really helping develop that.
All right. Go ahead, Elsa.
I wrote down recognition and reconciliation of our past to understand the present in order to eliminate inequality.
All right.
We have the tendency to put things under the rug, and it still comes out to this day. A lot of people, we still don't understand what racism is really all about.
Anybody else have a sentence to share? A moral imperative we can put into practice, individually or as a group. Sorry, go ahead, please.
One of the moral imperatives beyond this book really is to how to avoid the future climate disaster that's coming. They say it's going to be 3 times larger than the pandemic that we're experiencing. In being in healthcare as a dental specialist, we operate on a curative model. How do we go from a curative to a preventive model? Because next tsunami of the climate environment is going to be more overwhelming than this one as we look back at the last 100 years.
Okay.
Especially from 1918 and the Spanish influenza. So what do? Well, we get on board with a group, we read, like Bill Gates is on the front lines. He has a new book out currently, How to Avoid the Disaster of the Climate. And we get into a group and we start looking at how we can personally deal with the issues like 0 degree carbon and many other issues. So that's one of the imperatives.
Okay. Anybody else with an individual or group practice?
I would say, as Carlton, I would say learning to act as a global village with governance, economy, and cultural gifts.
All
Does
right.
that sound familiar?
All of the goods of the earth belong.
Very good.
I would suggest finding a way to share the approaches that work as we're on this journey.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you a rhetorical question now. I'm pulling my punches. And the question is, rhetorically, will inequality get worse?
Yeah.
And we're ready for a ritual from team 2. Are you ready for us?
I think we're ready. We have 2 reporters. One is Kareen. She might want to go first. And our second one is Sherwood.
Okay, well, give us a chance to rehearse, lead us in when you, after we get a chance to do it together at your leading.
It's written on the chat. So.
Yes, it's written in the chat. And I'm wondering, since I think it's difficult to all chant together, isn't it? But I think it would be possible to have our reporter read. So they're written in sets of 2 sentences. The first sentence is the problem and the second sentence is the solution. So I think
well, can you rehearse it for us?
You can put it on it's on the mural already, and you could zoom in on it.
Let's do that.
It's also on the
in
chat.
the chat. If you just open your chat box.
Where
Open your chat.
We're in the chat.
Look where Nancy.
Tracks
That's
to everyone.
There
It's
they
at
are.
7:51 p.m.
Yeah.
Nancy Trask, everyone.
I don't
And
see it.
Take it
I
away,
don't see
Kareen.
You have to
Nancy
open your
Trask
chat
to
in a
everyone.
box. Just click on your chat and it'll open so you can see it. It's the last one.
Oh,
So I'm going to do the second one. Our systems make us separate and unequal. We are reestablishing trust and moral equality.
And the second one?
Sherwood.
Our policies are hypercharging wealth inequality. Now, everybody.
We are
reclaiming
our world beyond the divide.
Okay. You all sound drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
That was beautiful.
That was just the way we planned this.
sound like Drunken Miller.
I dare y'all to say it again.
Hey, Doug, they sound like you.
Can you get the major points? Hit the major points. And come at it again so we can get it, like.
Sorry, one more time.
The future is open, we must decide.
If you mute yourself and say it with one person,
oh,
you actually have the resonance of their voice in your ear with your voice in your ear. And so it feels more like a collective sharing than the collective sharing actually feels on a virtual. Because on the virtual, then you're letting the lag of your internet affect whether they're together or not.
So,
but if you have one person read the first, read the second line, and then everybody else can read with them, and then it resonates with you.
Okay.
We'll try it. We're all on mute. Now what?
Okay, I'll say it, and you can say along with me if you're on mute. And so I'm going to do the second one. Our systems make us separate and unequal.
We are all
reestablishing trust and moral equality.
Can we try that again?
Our systems make us separate and unequal.
We
We are
reestablishing
reestablishing trust and moral equality.
Try it one more time.
Oh, that
One
was
more
good.
time.
Our systems make us separate and unequal.
We
We
are
are
reestablishing
reestablishing
trust and
trust
moral
and
equality.
moral equality.
We had a little tagline there.
not bad.
Okay. Well, I would ask you now another rhetorical question. Would you agree to our maxim that we are truly complete? And we'll turn it over to Jim and David for announcement.
Truly complete.
Okay,
So
Jim and Dave.
just one.
Wow, this is
Go
wonderful.
ahead.
So next week is chapter 8. Globalization is not dead, and we're going to experiment with an open space approach. Don't ask me what that means, but that's what we're going to do. There's not going to be a chapter host.
Excellent.
We're going to break into groups and figure it out.
Yeah.
All right?
What's the title of chapter 8 again?
Globalization is not dead.
Okay, and neither are we.
Thank you for that. And if we get through that, then lesson 9 is to Milan for March 8th.
So Jim, to remind everybody of the open space guidelines, whoever comes are the only people that can. And whatever happens is the only thing that can happen. So if you want to do preparation, whatever preparation you think would be helpful, do it and share it. I am complete.
So thank you all. We'll see you next week.
So be there. It's going to be wild.
And thanks for the chatting back and forth over the course of this week. Feel free to keep that dialogue going. And thanks to Dawn and Linda for their work. And thanks to Nancy and AM and Pat and Carlton for stepping up to handle the small groups.
Hello to Wells, Minnesota.
Check out the calendar.
Hello, Wells. We're coming down sometime.
Hello, Hawaii.
Oh, yes. We said we'd remind each other about the calendar from last session. So don't forget the calendar of the archives and add events if you have events. Sign up for events if you want to be in events, but don't forget it exists.
So my brother-in-law and sister-in-law moved in with us. Is that the kind of thing we put up there?
Pardon?
You're
I
not
said my
clear.
brother-in-law and sister-in-law moved in with us. Is that the kind of events you want on that calendar?
That's for your diary, not your calendar.
Okay.
That's
Bye,
for your,
everybody. Thank you.
that's for your lorazepam.
I appreciate the mother-daughter dynamic with us tonight.
That was
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, honeybee.
It's been such a pleasure. Thanks for leading.
Kyra, where are you?
Hi, Barrett.
Hi.
Kyra, where are
Hi,
you?
Barrett.
Say
I'm
we
here.
No, where
Oh,
what
Long
part?
Island, Long Island, New York.
I'm
Oh,
here.
okay.
Hi, David.
Bye all.
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
night.
Hi.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Well done. Well done.
Yes, really well done. Thank
Say
you.
good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
Wherever you are. My husband's in Hawaii upstairs.
I'm a space cadet. Hey, Paul. Hey, Paul. Good to